mother, it's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just the
Duo.
of feathery brethren, weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Bo and Zach kicking it cooler than
Two.
Penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Bo and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping.
We are going to rip out the hearts of other podcasts. We are going to bite off their eyeballs. We're going to start every segment watching the scene from The Last of the Mohicans where the guy takes a bite out of the other guy's heart. We may not be good, but we're going to be nasty. We're going to reflect the blue-collar nature of this city. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends on a Sunday evening, 10:39 p.m. in Indianapolis. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, Marissa Dunn here, sorry for the voice, to talk about a gritty win, an underwhelming win, a come-from-behind win, their first double-digit come-from-behind win since the miracle at the New Meadowlands over a decade ago, a stilted, sloppy offensive performance of a win, a bounce-back defensive performance of a win, and a vengeful win for Nick Sirianni. Zach, how are you?
I'm doing well. Excited for this pod. Big win today. 9-1 through 10 games. And it'll be a happy Thanksgiving in the Delaware Valley because had they been on a 2-game losing streak and played the way they did through much of Sunday's game, there probably would have been a lot of like grumpy uncles and grandfathers and maybe grandchildren at tables around the Delaware Valley.
Not to be confused with Grumpy of the Seven Dwarves in an Indian family who's referred to as Grumpy Uncle.
I just figured that the older people are grumpier about losses than the younger people. Is that a generalization or would that be accurate?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
Okay.
As our viewers in the chat can attest, it looks like we're at different places. Zach looks like he's on the penthouse. He's got he's up high. He's got the Westin behind him, and me. This background makes it look like I'm lying on the floor.
If only the audience knew.
Come on, Zach, do it.
What does that mean?
I would not. If Bo is comfortable sharing his information,
go
he can
ahead.
share his information.
Go ahead.
Bo is staying at the presidential suite at his hotel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bo did not book the presidential suite. Bo stayed at this hotel with Zach and Sheil when we were here for the combine. When I arrived, they said, "Oh, welcome back, Mr. Wolf. We've upgraded you to the presidential suite." It's nothing glamorous. It's still right next to the elevator, so it's like it's a loud room, but it's a little bit more spacious. Zach, unfortunately, did not want to be the teammate this time and join me in this hotel that has special memories for us as a companionship.
I agree there. I was trying to be mindful of the company's resources, but bottom line, we spent a lot of time together. We spent a lot of time together today, and we spent a lot of time together virtually here. And as you mentioned, actually, on our preview of the game, perhaps we need to spend less time with each other. Nonetheless, we both predicted Eagles victories, and it did not happen in the fashion that
we both got the Colts points correct.
Correct, but we were wrong on the Eagles points.
Yes, we were.
Maybe one more touchdown would have gotten it there.
That's right. Okay, so let's get into this, Zach, because this was a game where the Eagles were sloppy again. They lost the turnover battle for the second consecutive week. They had a string of penalties. The offense, and I'm sure that you want to gloat here because you were making the joke several times in the press box, like, "Oh, the offense is struggling so much they're going to have to fire Jonathan Gannon because the defense was able to puff its chest out a little bit," and we can get to the reasons behind that. But let's start with the game-winning drive.
Yeah,
the Eagles are down 16-10 with a little bit over 2 minutes. What is it? About 4 minutes remaining, and you wrote about it, so take me through it.
So the drive itself, the the final touchdown, we will get to that. That's the most memorable play there, the 7-yard run where Jordan Mailata called it biblical in terms of he was describing how the line just split in front of Jalen Hurts like the Red Sea. And that is what it looked like from our vantage point. And
the smile on your face when you give that reference. That's great. Love an Old Testament.
So the defense held the Colts to a field goal on Hassan Reddick's sack. That was questionable there. There's a face mask penalty, but I bring that up because that was pivotal. Had the Colts scored a touchdown there, or even if Reddick didn't get a sack and potentially the Colts go for the 4th down, then it could have been a 2-score game. So the Eagles keep it a 1-score game. They get the ball back with under 5 minutes to go, 4:37 on the clock. First play. This is usually you doing the play-by-play. I don't want to take it from you here.
No, it's your story.
But Hurts gets pressured, okay, throws it away, then an 8-yard pass to A.J. Brown. Then came the pivotal play in the drive, in my opinion. The longest play of the game for the Eagles, a 3rd and 2. And if you recall in this scenario a week ago, comparable scenario, not even a week ago, last Monday, the Eagles went 3 and out against Washington in a gotta-have-it drive, right? That was the one that preceded the drive when when Brandon Graham had the penalty. Okay, so Jalen's there's great protection for Jalen Hurts. He's in the pocket. He has nowhere to go to. He's shuffling the pocket. Miles Sanders, who is his outlet on the side, sprints down the sideline. Okay, essentially like a scramble drill. I spoke to Miles after the game. He saw where the linebacker was playing him, thought he could make a play downfield. Jalen heaves the ball downfield.
I thought he was open the whole play, really.
Yes. And obviously he's not an initial target there. So it's not early in your progression where you would go to him. And it was improvisation. It was improvising on Miles's part. So Jalen throws it. He underthrows the ball. And so Miles comes back to it and initiates the pass interference. Now, the Eagles, and when I say the Eagles, Nick Sirianni said, like, that's going to be on the teach tape forevermore, what Miles Sanders did. I actually think it was more the defensive player was reacting. Miles was so wide open. The defensive player just tackled him, right? So I don't know whether it was a case of Miles drawing it like the Eagles said, or the defensive player saying this could be a touchdown. Let's get him on the ground. Nonetheless, Sanders did a good job coming back for the ball, initiated the pass interference. The Eagles got this huge gain. Okay, so now they're all the way down into Colts territory. They're at the 28-yard line for a 1st and 10 with 3:38 to go. And this is when Sirianni's playing both the Colts and the clock, okay? Because in this scenario, if the Eagles do score a touchdown, it becomes a 1-point game. You don't want to give Indianapolis too much time. So they're running the ball. And they get to a 4th and 2 at the Colts' 9-yard line.
Now they were not just running clock, because they were still snapping the ball early in the play clock, right?
Yeah.
And they were still running. They were trying to run several plays. Like they ran a play when they didn't need to before the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, the Boston Scott run there.
But I think that this also was like clock focused. I think they just wanted to be able to have as many plays as possible while keeping the clock running.
Yep.
That was
well said. Well said. The Boston Scott run on 3rd and 4 with 2:09 remaining. They should have just let that go down to the 2-minute warning.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So then comes a really weird play, and I'm going to defer to you because I'm speaking too much here, and you have good insight on this as well. 4th and 2, they come out, and you could see them, like Isaac Seumalo was in a stance waiting to hustle to the line. Like they're going to
You called it because they're waiting for TV to come back, right?
Yep.
They're waiting for the TV to come back, and they're all sitting in the huddle, and you could tell that they were in a situation where, like, okay, once we go, we got to really go. We got to run to the line. And you said they're going to run to the line.
And I'll let you pick up what happened there.
Well, they run to the line. They line up in their quarterback sneak formation where everybody's
which seemed
ready to
odd.
push.
Yep.
I mean, I think the people who are listening know what happened, but they line up, they try to draw them off sides. It's 4th and 2. They don't. And then they call timeout. And I thought this was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. I mean,
And you asked Nick about it, correct?
I asked Nick about it. He said, well, because I think that, the Nick conversation in this game is very interesting because I think this was the worst game, in-game management-wise, that he has coached in a very long time. There were a ton of questionable in-game decisions. We can get to the disparity in like the personnel usage from the first half to the second half, which I was charting. It was wild. But this decision, coupled with after the Reddick sack that you mentioned, the Eagles call timeout there with like 4:40 left. Their first of 3 timeouts. A bizarre timeout, unless there was something else going on. But if that was just a clock stoppage, a wasted timeout. You don't call that there. So then they line up to do this fake quarterback sneak with no intention of ever snapping the ball. And I asked Sirianni about it. He said there's a strategy element there that he doesn't want to get into because of opposing teams potentially playing them in the future. But Jason Kelce, told you in the locker room that the idea here is that opposing defenses aren't going to expect you to sneak the ball when you've got 2 yards to go. And so they're more likely to jump off sides.
Yeah, so when I asked Jason about it, he kind of didn't understand why I was asking about this play, which struck me as was I making too big a deal about this up in the press box? It still befuddles me if they don't get a 4th and 2.
Here's the reason why the game is over if you don't.
Yes.
If you don't get it on 4th and 2 now, you've got 1 timeout left. The game is over. They run one play, you call timeout. They run another play. 40 seconds go off the clock. They run another play. 40 seconds go off the clock. You get the ball back with like 30 seconds. If you've got 2 timeouts still, you're going to get the ball back with over a minute to go, potentially, if you force a 3 and out. And they're backed up. You got a real shot.
Yeah.
Like the expected value, like the delta of cost benefit for maybe getting them to jump versus losing your timeout is completely untilted. Like it's totally tilted. It's what a wild thing to do.
Additionally, you have to have confidence you can get 2 yards there, right? You don't have to if you're going, if you're this major underdog, all right, try to get them to jump off sides, but you're the favorite on the road. You have
That's
this
what
great
you're
offensive
coming out
line.
of the 2-minute
yeah.
warning with. Give me a break.
I mean, look, I would say to Nick that if there's some great strategy here, reveal it to the other teams because I would want other teams to be doing this against me. In any event, the Eagles call the timeout. They go out there. I wouldn't even say criticism, but the questioning of this turns out to be for naught because the Eagles get the first down. Jalen Hurts run. He has a QB draw. He's in shotgun QB draw, kind of around Jordan Mailata. And then a few plays later, they have a 3rd and goal from the 7. And again, a QB draw. And this time, as Jason Kelce explained, the play was not meant to go up the middle. Now, he had Boston Scott with him. Boston Scott was essentially like the lead blocker, if you will. I mean, they don't call it that, but he's essentially like a lead blocker. But Jason Kelce, he pulled to the right side, and the draw was supposed to go around the side there. But the defensive tackle read it, and it opened up the middle of the field. The Eagles had
biblical.
Yeah, they were in 11 personnel, but they didn't have the tight end in line, right? So it's essentially like 4 guys split wide, Boston Scott next to him. So the linebackers need to account for all the pass catchers there, right? It's 3rd and goal at the 7. You're not expecting them to run. And the Eagles had repped this play. This is part of what makes Jalen Hurts special as a quarterback is his legs. And it's open. It was the easiest touchdown run you can imagine, right? Runs right in. And the Colts mascot, I don't know if you saw this. The Colts mascot
was humping with him back and forth.
Was gyrating as if he was celebrating or she. I don't know what the gender is of the mascot. It seemed Jalen did the same thing back, but a really
like a choreographed hump off.
That didn't make my story choreographed humped off, but that would have been a good line. But really good play there. And anyways, we took you through the play-by-play, but big picture with it. One thing Kelsey said is like this is part of the benefit of having a running quarterback. You saw on that drive what it does to defenses, especially in 2-minute late game situations. It keeps them honest. It puts such a strain on it on them, and the poise with which Jalen played with. And the big takeaway, spoke to multiple players, not just guys who were quoted in my story, but multiple players. The big takeaway was like they knew the way the game was going. Everyone recognized that they executed when they needed to execute. They didn't turn the ball over there. They played mostly a clean, a clean drive. Jordan Mailata, when I spoke to him, he talked about, how like everyone was a dog on that drive. And you get, if you're around the Eagles enough, you hear dog mentality enough that you roll your eyes. But point being that the whole game's going not well, terrible. I heard a lot of 4-letter words in that locker room to describe it, but they had a drive to make it count, and they made it count. I give them credit.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was one of the least impressive game-winning drives I've ever seen. Given that, like, it took a pass interference and then 9 straight runs of like 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, and then a couple of pickups, but they got it done. What did you make of them going run 9 straight times after the pass interference? Did you think that was them like taking the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands as a passer, or did you think that was just they didn't have a ton of ideas on how to score, and so they were just sticking with putting the ball in Jalen Hurts' legs?
So, fair question. Nick Sirianni said after the game that in big moments they trust, they trust their best players. They trust the players, in that they want in those moments. And he mentioned the offensive line and the quarterback. I think that was part of it. I don't know. I haven't watched the game through. I don't know how many of those runs were RPOs, right? So I don't know what the option could have been there.
Let me see. Let me look at my charting at least here.
But no, I think this is trusting your offensive line, trusting Jalen. And I kind of disagree with you on the pass interference, because it wasn't a fluky pass interference, right? Like if Miles Sanders makes that catch, which he was wide open, right? If Miles Sanders makes that catch, you're talking about a 30 plus 40 plus yard play on.
Sure, but he wouldn't have made the catch because the throw was nowhere near him, and it was like his 5th read. So it's not like I mean, this is the chuck it up offense that a former host of the show would tout, and it makes a lot of sense because of the upside. But this was not like they drew up a wheel route for Miles Sanders. This was like an extemporaneous play. I mean, sure, that counts too, but it was not like, it's not like they went out and got it.
So when I watched that play, what jumped out to me, what I don't know if it's getting enough credit. I mean, our audience could tell me. The blocking on that play was awesome, right? Like it was.
That's fair.
It wasn't a situation where Jalen was under pressure and rolled out to his right. Jalen was shuffling in the pocket, because I have to see the all 22 to kind of see how the progressions were there. But he didn't have anyone open, or he was going through his options. He was in the pocket, shuffling around, and then he spots Miles going downfield. And you can see from the corner of the TV cut, you can see Miles is there as the dump off, and then he runs down the right sideline. And in speaking to him, he saw where the linebacker was playing, so that was reactive on his part.
Okay. But yeah, this was I didn't think it was like fantastic offense. They went out and got, but I mean they made it happen. You give them credit. And then on the ensuing possession, you need to stop. About a minute left. Colts get the ball. They got one timeout. Get a first down. They get to the 40, and then things stall when Brandon Graham, 1 week after hitting the quarterback when he wasn't allowed to, gets to the quarterback this time, brings down Matt Ryan to set up a 4th and long. The Eagles get the defensive stop. They get the win, Zach, 17-16. A win is a win in the NFL, especially on the road. You scratch and claw. You do what you can.
Yeah, it was a bad performance, and it was I'll be careful how I phrase it, or I
don't
not be
sleep on
careful.
the defense, Zach. The defense in this game.
No, I mean, look, they did not play well tonight or today, and there's going to be a lot to learn from, or a lot to correct off this. But it's easier to make corrections after a win it's better to make corrections after a win than it is a loss. The bottom line, you're 9-1. You went into Indianapolis and you won this game, and you see around the NFL that there's a lot of teams who figure out ways to lose games. Every week, there's teams that figure out ways to lose games, and the Eagles found a way to win this game. So I give them credit there. And
I think now
stay on the offense.
Well, now it's a good time to transition to Sirianni, I think, because after that sack and after they get the 4th down stop, the CBS cameras cut to the sidelines, and we see Nick Sirianni. If you're watching on video, Marissa pulling together the clip like the dynamite that she is. He rips off his visor. He steps on the bench. He starts talking smack to people in the stands, or at least maybe Eagles fans in the stands. He's shouting good stuff. And, we talked about it during the week. It was not a secret that Nick Sirianni was sort of taking on a little bit of extra meaning to this game, because of his connection with Frank Reich. And, he was emotional there on the field. We were both there, Zach, as players and coaches were filing into the locker room, giving fist pounds to Howie Roseman. And by the time Sirianni gets there, Roseman and him sort of huddle. They exchange some nice words. And then Sirianni sort of like collapses into the weight of everything that the past, 4 hours were. He sort of bends over at his waist and composes himself for a little bit. He was very emotional. He said about 20 minutes later at the press conference, the reason I'm emotional is because, what did I say?
No, Marissa sneezed. I said, bless you.
Thank you.
Wow. You take me off the tracks then for that?
I didn't take you. I said, bless you to Marissa. That's not taking you off the tracks. You keep going.
For all the guff that I get for interrupting you.
That's interrupting you?
You don't think that's interrupting?
I listened to every word you said there. Keep going.
I didn't say you weren't listening. I said you interrupted.
Okay. All right.
No, you want to jump in? Go ahead. You finish it off. I was just getting to the end of my point, and now I'm lost.
I said bless you. That's all he said was bless you. I didn't interrupt. Go on.
So then Sirianni says, I was emotional because I love Frank Reich. And it was very clear that he wanted to send a message with this win. And I think that's part of why he coached such a bad game. That the turnover on the first play of the second half. Now, maybe this is not just on him. This is on Steichen too. It's hard to parse that responsibility when you're talking about the offense, the play calling, and the design. But that first play, it's a play action rollout to the right. Miles Sanders' job is to block Yannick Ngakoue there. That's the design of the play. And he sort of does a fine job. He gets in his way, he loses slowly, and still Ngakoue gets there and sacks Jalen Hurts before he can get rid of the ball. And Hurts was maybe a little bit lackadaisical on that throw, but that's a bad design. That's on coaching. And Sirianni was talking about that play, and he said because he was talking about the offensive line, and he's like, yeah, that sack, yeah, that was on the back. And he sort of glossed over it quickly. We're like, that's not on the back, man. That's on you guys. That play went as designed, and it was a bust. Okay, that's fine. We talked about some of the decision making. The 4th down, there was a little bit of a inconsistency. They don't go for it on 4th and goal at the 4, kick a field goal there, but then they do go for it later in the game, 4th and 10, when they could have kicked about a 54-yard field goal, 52-yard field goal.
I think 56.
Okay,
but still,
maybe that's a little far.
4th and 10, the 4th and 10's a low probability play, right? You have a higher probability of hitting that field goal. Now, there's reward to getting the first down. So
there was the end of the first half when they go a 3 and out with a chance to score and do their favorite little double dip, and it's 3 and out. AJ Brown's not on the field for any of the 3 plays. They go 13 personnel again, and this is the halftime change that I was alluding to, Zach. In the first half, it was really, to me, like they were trying to be way too cute with their personnel. In the first game, playing without Dallas Goedert, they wanted to sort of showcase, look at all the different things we can do. We're still going to be fine. It's like, look at, we can get everybody prepared. We can do all these different options. And I want to pull up my charting, but I think if you're just talking about running or wide receivers and tight ends, so the 4 wide receivers, AJ Brown, Quez Watkins, Devontae Smith, and Zach Pascal, and the 3 tight ends, Grant Calcaterra, Jack Stoll, and Tyree Jackson. Those 7 guys were on the field in 12 different combinations in the first half, in like 31 plays, not including penalties. And it wasn't good. They scored 3 points. Their previous season low was 14 for points in the first half. In the second half, they pared it down completely. They played 11 personnel every single snap of the second half, except for the fake quarterback sneak, which wasn't a snap, right? So every snap they actually snapped was 11 personnel. And that combination of wide receivers and tight ends went from 12 to 4. It was completely pared down. They simplified things to an extreme degree. And aside from that first possession of the second half, it worked much better. Obviously, they were more productive. And I really think that there was like something to Sirianni being like a little bit too into this game. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's validity there. I didn't like the offensive game planning or play calling, however you would frame it, for much of the game. We've both been advocates on the show of getting AJ Brown the ball often. He's targeted on 3 of the team's first 5 plays, and he's targeted 4 times the rest of the game.
Yeah.
He had 4 catches on the first 2 drives.
And a fumble, costly fumble, we should say.
He had 1 catch the rest of the game. And yes, he had a costly fumble. But to me, like, you need to feed AJ Brown the ball. And I thought that's what they were going to be doing early. And it got away from them there. Now, they only attempted 25 passes. AJ had 7 targets. Devontae had 9 targets. So 16 and 25. That's, if from a percentage perspective, that's probably in line with what I thought going into the game. But I still think they could feature AJ more than they did today. And that goes into the 2Q, but they couldn't sustain drives. And I mean, to me, drive charts tell big stories here. Okay. So first 2 drives, punt, then field goal, then punt, then fumble, then loss of downs, then punt. All right. That's essentially your first 7 drives of the game. Then in the fourth quarter, they woke up, right? Touchdown, fumble, touchdown. But
good drink, Marissa.
The way the lack of the inability to sustain drives early was a problem, and some of that's the play calling, some of that's the execution. Frankly, some of that goes back to penalties. They had that one drive where it's like productive play after productive play after productive play, but 3 consecutive penalties. I think they had a 1st and 35.
Yeah, I
love
a 1st and 35. They almost picked that up too.
Yes. So point being, the offense wasn't where it needed to be today, and the absence of Dallas Goedert certainly contributed to it. I think we saw how valuable Dallas is for them in certain situations. You know, they have like certain, what Frank Reich, I'll bring it around. Frank Reich used to call them 17 plays. Okay. And what he meant by 17 plays is there's times when you just dial it up for Alshon. And they have plays where it's like 88 plays, dialing it up for Dallas Goedert. And without Dallas Goedert, I still think they're trying to figure out their way. But back to the Sirianni conversation, the one thing, I would say one thing I try to acknowledge is there's a lot that I don't know. And there's got to be more to this Reich situation than, there's some connecting the dots as far as benching Matt Ryan and different things that were going on behind the scenes. But coaches get fired. I mean, Nick was on the staff in Los Angeles when Frank Reich got fired there, right? Coaches get fired. It's sad to put it that way. It's an unfortunate reality of the NFL. But Nick really seemed to take this one. I personally, and B, like, he found it to be either unjust, unfair, whatever word you want to use, which lends me to believe that this is a loaded situation that Nick knows more about than I do.
Oh, I think that's definitely right. And he keeps saying the thing like, how I feel about Frank. You can only imagine how I feel about what happened. But to be fair, like I said, like, I think this was his worst coached in-game game of the season. But it's also like, you can't take that away and also not acknowledge that a lot of the the dog mentality stuff that we're talking about and crediting them for that final drive, the stick-to-itiveness of the defense to some degree, even Miles Sanders taking the coaching point of what to do when you're downfield to draw a pass interference penalty. Those things are also things that are a product of his coaching to some degree. So just because he had a bad game in game today doesn't mean that, like, he's not also responsible for the fact that the players were able to go out there and win.
Yes, and to add to that, they lose on a Monday night. Okay, they have this quick turnaround. It happens in a week when you lose one of your key players. You add 2 veterans on Thursday and Friday, both of whom were in the lineup. There's a lot that Sirianni was juggling this week for them to, so the in-game decisions were questionable, but Sirianni had these guys ready to play. They have a good mentality, if you will. And I do think that's beneficial. And I think the way they responded in the fourth quarter says something about the team. The reality is they started the season 8-0 and they didn't trail in the second half in any of those games. Last Monday was the first time we saw them have a potential come from behind win, and it did not work well. They had the 3-and-out. We talked about the 3-and-out on the pod Monday. For them to respond as they did today, even if, as you framed it, was the most unimpressive game-winning drive you've seen, it's nonetheless a 75-yard game-winning drive. The 4 first downs on the drive were the most they had all game. It was the longest drive that they had all game. So it was their best drive of the game.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the graphic for the Thursday night Thanksgiving primetime game that they just showed Mac Jones and Kirk Cousins next to each other. I mean, what a Melvin off. Might as well be a Mayo ad.
Is my audio okay? I see. Okay. So that was just a joke in the comments. Okay.
All right. I think it's probably about time we take a little break, and we'll come back and focus on the defense, give Zach his flowers, and let's talk a little Linval Joseph and Dominic and Sue. Linval Joseph, LJ, making an impact in his debut.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/BWF and get on your way to being your best self. Unfortunately, life doesn't come with a user manual. So when it's not working for you, it's normal to feel stuck. Navigating any of life's challenges can make you feel unsure, whether it's a career change, a new relationship, or becoming a parent. Therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills, which makes therapy the closest thing to a guided tour of the complex engine called you. I've discussed many times on this podcast how football season can be really stressful in my personal life and my work life, and it's so important to get these feelings out and relieve stress and learn coping mechanisms. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist at any time. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/BWF. That's BETTERHELP.com/BWF. This holiday season, the best deal in wireless can only be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you can get another 3 months for free. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order and activate from home with eSIM while saving tons on phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Mint Mobile is the perfect gift for the holidays because it can save you so much money. We all have so many gifts to buy during the holiday season. Why waste money that you don't have to? Mint Mobile's best offer of the year is here. For a limited time, buy a 3-month plan and get 3 more months free. By going online with the eSIM and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk and text and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily and effortlessly with eSIM. Or if you need a new device, for a limited time, get 6 months of free service when you buy a select device and plan. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. For a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/birds. That's mintmobile.com/birds. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/birds. Ambitious hiring goals for the last quarter of 2022? With a powerful hiring partner, big goals are no big deal. You need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Hate waiting? Indeed's U.S. data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Something I think is so cool about Indeed is Indeed assessments. They help take the stress out of the interview process. Candidates get to show their skills before the interview, so you can dive deeper into talking about what's important to you rather than just what's listed on their resume. Join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to sponsor your job post at Indeed.com/BWF. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/BWF. Indeed.com/BWF. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
All right, back on Burns with Friends, Bo, Zach, and Marissa. Zach, let's talk about the defense, which opens the game by surrendering a 75-yard, 10-play drive. I believe 48 yards of which came on the ground from Jonathan Taylor. The Colts jump out to a 7-0 lead, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, here we go again. But as Travis Kelce goes in for a touchdown, from then on out, the Eagles defense did a pretty good job. Obviously, only 9 points the rest of the game. Jonathan Taylor rushed for fewer yards over the rest of the game than he did in that first drive. Linval Joseph played a bunch of snaps, played like 24 snaps, and was the primary nose tackle. The Colts sort of did the Eagles a bit of a favor personnel-wise in this game. They played a lot of heavy personnel that allowed the Eagles to stay in their base, their 5-2, for a good portion of this game. I think that worked out well. But I thought that this was a good reflection of last week's run defense conversation, because by yards per carry, right, last week's game was a better performance by the defense than this week's. But if you look at the disparity, or the tails of the runs last week, the problem was the Eagles defense was never able to get Washington off schedule, right? Washington, their longest run of the game last week was 11 yards. They only ran more than 8 yards on that one play, but they were very rarely stopped for like negative yards, 0 yards, 1 yard. Whereas in this game, there was a 27-yard Jonathan Taylor run. There were 4 carries of more than 8 yards, but the Eagles held them to negative yards or 1 yard or fewer like 12 times. And that got them off schedule. That put them in known pass situations. And I think that was part of the difference of the game. And I thought Linval Joseph looked really good.
You put it well. Last week, I thought the biggest problems, personnel. They needed someone in that Jordan Davis role, and they addressed it with Linval Joseph, and he frankly did better than I anticipated in a short period of time. Credit to him there, mostly to be ready, to be in there, to be productive, and the Eagles for acquiring him, identifying that issue, and making it work on short notice. Number one, the big problem I had with the Eagles' performance in the Washington game on defense was third down. I thought third down was an issue. It frankly was an issue in the first drive against the Colts when the Colts converted 3 third downs. After that opening drive, the Colts were 2 of 12 on third downs. To me, rushing yards, that's not a big winner or loser stat. That's not a stat that I think is going to determine the outcome of a game. Third downs, I think, will determine the outcome of a game or help contribute to the outcome of a game. The Eagles were not good on third downs against Washington. They were much better against the Colts, in particular, after that opening drive. That was the difference. And a lot of it, like you said, has to do with getting into known passing situations. If you can avoid third and shorts, then that's advantageous. Now, there were also third and shorts where the Eagles made some big plays, right? And I thought they did a good job against Matt Ryan. There were a few times when the Colts receivers got free, but for the most part, I thought the coverage was solid. And I also thought that it didn't lead the points, but I think it helped take points off the board. Marcus Epps' takeaway. That was a critical strip there, right? We talk about...
They just don't blow plays dead anymore, right? Like,
yeah,
is that just a change?
I spoke to Marcus after the game, and he said they were letting that play go on, and
it's a great play.
He got his hand in there, but I think it's a little overstated, or more than a little. I think it was overstated when Nick Sirianni was saying it's not luck, and they coach it as far as taking care of the ball. And I suppose there are grips that you can do, like we see that sign in the auditorium. But I think defensively, coaching strips is something that they do. It works on, and that was an example of it. And by the way, it worked the other way too, where was it Zaire Franklin who punched the ball out of AJ Brown's grasp? Look, Gannon came from Indianapolis. That's something that the Colts historically, I know Eberflus isn't there, but that's something that they've taught. But I thought that Marcus Epps' forced fumble was a very underrated part of this win because the Colts were driving there. They had momentum, and
they didn't have momentum. It had just become a 3-point game.
Okay, yes, but they were driving there. They could have contributed to it, and so
the Eagles fumble it right away. 3 plays later.
True, but the field shifted.
Sure. I mean, so 5 fumbles for the Eagles, none lost over the first 7 games of the season. 9 fumbles and 5 lost in the 3 games since. What's going on there?
I think sometimes there's, especially with fumbles, there's turnover. There's luck, right? If Jalen Hurts fumbles the ball there, first play of the second quarter. Second half, right? The Colts jumped on it. Had the Eagles jumped on it, we probably wouldn't be talking about that play. Fumbles are fluky in the sense of who recovers them. Interceptions I view a little differently, right? But fumbles are fluky there.
Yeah, but they're fumbling at a higher rate also.
But like you pointed out, they recovered their fumbles earlier on the season. So
yeah, but 5 through 7 games versus 9 through 3 games, that's a big
Good point. All right, certainly something to monitor. Absolutely.
So the Sue Linval Joseph thing is interesting to me because from the outside, I think we were both like, yeah, like pretty impressive. They were able to get in and play and make an impact. Sue, I thought was a little bit less so, though they did split a sack. That was nice. But like Brandon Graham was like, he said he helped Sue with getting into the defense. One of the 2 days he was here, but he didn't need much help during the game. Sue and Joseph both sort of downplayed that when we talked to them, and we're saying like, I've been in the league long enough that I've played in every defense. It's just a terminology thing. And so Brandon Graham is like, yeah, I mean, we'll see how sore they are on Tuesday. They're going to be pretty sore. And Jason Kelsey was like, yeah, like I'm not impressed by that. I'm jealous. Like they're the fresh ones. Like they got to skip training camp and half a season. I think these veterans are like, yeah, this is why we don't need preseason. Like,
yes,
let me get out there and play.
Yeah, Slade made a comment if he could do what Weddle did last year,
right?
Join a team during the playoffs and just roll through to the Super Bowl. I think you have to be in a certain amount of or a certain degree of conditioning, a certain degree of shape in order to be out there.
These are like extremely high level players, veterans to begin with.
But to the point of adjusting to the scheme, and Ndamukong Suh has been playing. Well, both of them have been playing since 2010. They've played on multiple teams, right? Joseph has been on the Giants and the Vikings and the Chargers. Suh has been on the Lions and the Dolphins and the Rams and the Bucks. They've played for multiple coordinators. They played for multiple coordinators. They played in multiple schemes. And by the way, not to belittle defensive line play, but go get the guys who have the ball, right? Like that's what you're coaching them to do. Now I understand there's technique and there's nuance involved. I'm not disputing that, but fundamentally you're chasing the guy who has the ball, right?
I remember having this conversation on WIP when like Michael Bennett was missing out on like OTAs or whatever his 1 year, and they're like, he's got to learn the defense. I was like, Michael Bennett is going to be fine. He's a defensive end who's a pass rusher. He doesn't need to know the defense in March or May. Like he'll be fine.
Yes. Like if you're
and then Darwin Walker, I think who was on was like, no, that's not true. That's not true. Like, all right.
If you're a rookie, there's a big adjustment, right? I mean, you're adjusting to NFL linemen, you're adjusting to NFL defenses. There's a lot. There's a jump that goes on there. I think you're seeing it a bit with Jordan Davis, right? In terms of learning different techniques and playing in different techniques. But if you're Ndamukong Suh, if you're Linval Joseph, you know how to play football, right?
We'll see how they do over the next couple games as they get a little bit of wear and tear. But yeah, they were good. Yeah. It was impactful. Certainly Linval in the middle. I thought TJ Edwards played very well in this game.
He did.
Integral to the run defense. Was flying around the ball a little bit.
Yeah, I've been impressed with TJ Edwards all year. It's something that I've kind of looked into behind the scenes, and hopefully you'll have more on it soon.
Tease.
But to me, what jumps out when you watch TJ Edwards, it's the instincts that he plays with. And we all know, we've been talking about it for 3.5 years now, the time speed, but there's a difference between time speed and field speed. And frankly, this is not meant to disparage Davion Taylor, although it's going to come off that way. It's the difference between Davion Taylor and TJ Edwards, right? Like how fast you are doesn't matter if you're not in the right spot. TJ Edwards, you see him close in on some of these passes. You see him finishing these tackles. He knows where to go and when to go and how to get there.
Well said. Darius Slay, another, not a bad game, but it seemed like he was in coverage on a couple medium to long completions against Michael Pittman. Maybe a bit of a valley in the peaks and valleys of a season for him.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I still think that he and James Bradbury is a really interesting story that somebody should write about.
Well, make sure you tune in this weekend. Good thing that there's going to be well, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. But this Black Friday coming up, there's going to be opportunities to
Oh,
get
yeah, I think it
good
starts
rates.
tomorrow, right?
Well, yeah, but I don't know if I'm allowed to
Oh, okay.
say that. But there's going to be good promotions coming up, so make sure if you ever needed a time to re-up, this is a good time.
Or more likely, a gift idea.
A gift idea, exactly. That's
Come
more.
on.
Yes.
Everybody who's listening has got to be subscribed already. Okay. Anything else on the defense you'd like to talk about? I thought this is this game is also, like matchup wise, the Colts defense is pretty good. The Colts offense is pretty garbanzo beans. So keep that in mind when we're talking about the Eagles defense playing well and the Eagles offense struggling. But I thought this was a good day for the defense.
Yes. Going through Milton Williams flashed a bit.
He played. He's the one whose snaps were actually cut the most by this. Like I was expecting to look at it after the game that the Linval and Sue playing would mean that Cox and Hargrave played a little bit less. You got to take off some of the burden on them. And it was not the case. It was Milton Williams snaps who were sort of cut in half.
Josiah Scott, he was beaten. He was beat a few times, it appeared. But he also got his hands on two balls there. Thought that he was active in Avonte Maddox's place. I'm curious. We mentioned it briefly before. I'm curious what the audience thought of the Hassan Reddick play, because there was, rightfully so, a lot of outrage from the fan base about the Dallas Goedert play a week ago. And what you saw on Hassan Reddick's critical sack was his hand was on the face mask. Now, you and I were sitting next to each other during the game, and you thought that the hand was on the face mask after the sack, right? So
I think it was a penalty by definition. I mean, you can't grab his face mask.
Yes. What did the audience think there? I'm curious if you can leave your comments on the right.
Well, they're
Bo,
biased.
there's a lot of people worried about you right now.
Yeah, well, the longtime listeners shouldn't be worried, because if you're looking for parallels between the 2022 Eagles and the 2017 Eagles, in 2017, I had a cough that just wouldn't quit. It was like an 8-week, 10-week cough. And so I feel like I may be staring down the barrel of another one.
I had the whole training camp. If you remember, I sent you guys a text before the Cleveland trip, and then followed on the Miami trip. I got some concerned messages from the Miami podcasts. Are you okay? Those coughs can linger. So please take care of yourself.
Unfortunately, I'm on this will be my last Vicks cough drop of this bag. I think I have another bag an older bag in the backpack that's been waiting for just the right moment. I need my menthols. Mm-hmm. What's your cough drop? What's your go-to cough drop, Zach?
Whatever is the most inexpensive at CVS. Sometimes they have the
what
generic
if they're all
brand.
the same?
No, because
price?
They have the generic. No, because they have the generic.
Yeah,
brand.
but what flavor are you going for?
I'll usually go honey lemon. Yeah, but
softy over here.
But no, I'll go with
a woman's deodorant, but he goes for the honey lemon. Oh, a little bit of honey lemon, please, on the side. I don't know.
So the conversation shifted, so we didn't get much conclusion on the face mask, but that was critical, because if that's a 1st and 10 there, or for a 1st and goal rather, the Colts potentially run in and score.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, micro or macro from this game to talk about before we get to a break and Swooper?
No, the offense needs to get better here. I thought, so one thing we should discuss is Jalen Hurts carried the ball quite a bit. 16 carries in this game, his most since week 4.
Yeah, what did you make of Hurts' game overall?
I thought he ran the ball well. I thought he had some good passes. The volume wasn't there. They didn't go downfield. They didn't get those explosive plays. I thought there was more that he could have done in those situations. But I thought he was a good runner, and I thought that was where he really made his mark.
I thought he looked sharp throwing the ball early. Some of those completions to AJ Brown, and then as the game went on, he seemed on the same page with Devontae Smith pretty well on some of those timing throws. But I did think that he was a little bit uncomfortable in the pocket, and it's hard to know without rewatching on the All-22 like what his progressions were like. But I also thought that in the read game, he made a couple wrong reads there. It seemed like, unless they were not reads and they were just give. It felt like this was an up and down performance for him as well. But as you said, he got it done at the end. But I did not think that this was his best game by any stretch.
A bit of a redemptive game for Quez Watkins.
That's true.
After
Yeah,
that fumble, he
that
gets
was a
in
nice
the
throw.
end zone. He gets in the end zone. He had another good catch earlier in the game. I spoke to AJ Brown after the game about the fumble. Said they just knocked it out. And
I thought he wasn't wearing gloves from our vantage point in the press box, but it turns out that they were just like camo gloves. They must have worked really well. They worked on me.
I mean, we were high up there.
Yeah, boy, were we. What'd you like about the Indy press box?
I like that I got to watch the game from there. Right? That's
Good
the most important
glass.
thing.
Good, pretty solid glass. I like a good glass.
I do know you like a good glass.
Yeah. Clear glass, big glass, and not like widely partitioned with a view obstructing opaqueness.
I want to give a shout out to listeners Alex and John, who I met before the game, behind the end zone, and Alex in particular gave a nice token of appreciation, and I appreciate Alex's listening and all Alex does. So thank you, Alex.
Wow. I mean, thank you, Alex, for sure. But imagine being John and listening to that. And it was great to see Alex and John, but I really enjoyed meeting Alex. And thank you, Alex, for everything you do. I mean, John is sitting there thinking he had a special moment with Zach.
No.
Now he listens to this and he thinks he's chopped liver.
No, not at all. Thank you so much, John, as well. I was saying Alex gave a little token of appreciation for I don't want to mention Alex's job in case I'm not supposed to, but he gave us something from his job as a token of appreciation. So I was thanking him for that. I definitely thank you for John, for your loyal listening, for buying underdogs. And it was great to meet you. And actually, John, I'm not speaking out of turn here. John wants me to give it back to you a little more. Yeah, he says you're hard on me and I take it too much. So actually, John might take umbrage to you berating me about thanking Alex.
No, I think he's gonna be on my side on that part. I mean, he was definitely, as he was listening to that, thinking, "Wait, what the hell?" 100%. Now, you reminded me. I think as we may be nearing our final days on Twitter. Let's try to get underdogs in my underwear trending on Twitter. See if we can get a bunch of selfies from sickos. Underdogs in my underwear.
I don't know what you are talking about right now, but we have before we go to the break, I'll say with both John and Alex, I signed a copy of Underdogs, the Philadelphia Eagles' emotional road to Super Bowl victory. And if you are interested in having a copy signed, there's the Chicago trip, there's the Dallas trip, but also I can do it at Eagles games, and there's a book signing coming up with Glenn Macnow and Mike Sealski and Ray Didinger in December. So you can
nice. Big flex.
I'll give you all the information there.
All right, let me just run down the stats real quick on some of these guys, and then we'll get to break. Jalen Hurts, 16 carries for 86 yards, as you mentioned, Zach, and the touchdown. He also was 18 of 25 for 190 and a touchdown. Miles Sanders just 47 yards on 13 carries in this game. Boston Scott 3 for 8. Kenny Gainwell 1 for 0. A.J. Brown 5 catches for 60 yards. Devontae Smith led the way 6 for 78. Quez Watkins 2 for 31. Pascal with 1. Stoll with 1. Scott with 2. Miles with 1. Gardner-Johnson had 11 tackles. C.J. Edwards had 10. Jonathan Taylor 22 for 84. Matt Ryan 23 of 32 for 213. Michael Pittman led the way 6 for 75 for the Colts. Paris Campbell 5 for 67. Did you think that Jeffrey Lurie was watching Paris Campbell in this game with jealous eyes?
I do not. No.
Okay.
And what Bo is alluding to is that they could have drafted, or that if they did not draft JJ Arcega-Whiteside, they would have taken Paris Campbell. And Paris Campbell's turned into a decent player, as Zach Kiefer mentioned to us on the pod the other day. And JJ Arcega-Whiteside is no longer with the Seahawks. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So,
all right. Let's take a little break. Come back with Swooper. I have not looked at Swooper yet, so we could have some some live addition. You know what I don't like? You know what's a pain? What really grinds my gears? Borderline grouse material. Bad razors. And I'm not talking about Ramon. That's why you got to meet Henson Shaving. Henson Shaving is a family-owned aerospace parts manufacturer that has made parts for the ISS, the International Space Station, and Mars rover. And now they are bringing that precision engineering to your face, to that stubble, your shaving experience. Razor blades are like diving boards. The longer the board, the more wobble. The more wobble, and I'm not talking about let me see you wobble. The more wobble, the more nicks, cuts, and scrapes. A bad shave isn't a blade problem, it's an extension problem. And so by using aerospace-grade CNC machines, Henson makes metal razors that extend just 0.0013 inches, which is less than the thickness of a human hair. That means a secure and stable blade with a vibration-free shave. If all this sounds a little bit too in the weeds, that's okay. You don't need to know it. They're the ones who make it. They got you covered. There's a clog-free design. It gets better. The razor has built-in channels to evacuate hair and cream, which makes clogging virtually impossible. It is the best razor. Henson Shaving wants the best razor, not the best razor business. That means no plastic, no subscriptions, no proprietary blades, and no planned obsolescence. It's affordable too. The Henson razor works with standard dual-edged blades to give you that old school shave with the benefits of new school tech. Once you own a Henson razor, it's only about $3 to $5 per year to replace the blades. So, it's time to say no to subscriptions and yes to a razor that will last you a lifetime. Visit hensonshaving.com/birds. Henson, like Drew Henson, to pick the razor for you and use code BIRDS, and you'll get 2 years worth of blades free with your razor. Just make sure to add them to your cart. That's 100 free blades. 100 free blades! When you head to hensonshaving.com/birds. That also Jim Henson would apply, and use the code BIRDS. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions, when the actual cost is closer to 200 bones. That's right. You could be wasting hundreds of dollars each month on subscriptions you don't even know about. There's this app that takes care of that for me. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. The app shows all your subscriptions in one place and then cancels for you whatever you don't still want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may find out you've been double charged for a subscription. Double bang! You don't want that. And to cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel. Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Get rid of useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/birds. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/birds. Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/birds. All right, welcome back. Birds with Friends. Bo, Zach, and Marissa. Marissa, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I was getting the Swooper, the items up so we could go through this.
All right, let's do it. We enter the arena with 7 points for me, 1 point for both of you, Jamokes. How do things go today? Well, the Eagles' very first target of the game is a tight end. That's what I had. That was not the case. I believe the first throw was to A.J. Brown. A miss for me. Jeff Saturday elects not to go for it on fourth down on at least 2 instances in which the Belden Baldwin fourth down bot suggests he go for it. I believe this did happen. It definitely happened at least once.
It definitely happened at least once. I think it happened twice. Someone tweeted at us.
I think it happened twice. We'll double check that for if we need to, but that would be one for me. And then I only had one more. The USA scores more goals against Wales on Monday than Tyree Jackson has catches against the Colts. So that would potentially put me to 2. Tyree Jackson did not have any catches in this game, though he did play 7 snaps. I believe that I will win that one. Marissa.
Good job. That's a good reference.
You want to take it from here?
I was complimenting your reference. Bo was I'll tell you this, Marissa. Bo was locked in to the Qatar Ecuador game before the Eagles game.
Yeah, why not?
Yes. Yeah,
this World Cup does feel very weird and pretty gross, especially watching Qatar play. But I was rooting for my Ecuadorians. Got the W. So,
and we also had a disagreement on. I said to Bo, I said, why is Belgium? But although if I'm speaking of World Cup, I need to speak about it the way that. So I need to say, why are Belgium, right? Because that's how everything's written. Why are Belgium not getting more credit or like almost underdogs? And Bo was like, he couldn't believe that I suggested this. And I said that they're plus 1,800, right? They're the amount of teams that are above them in the odds for a team that I think is ranked number 2 in FIFA it's kind of the end of their golden generation, but they have a lot of talent. They have one of the best keepers in the world. They have one of the best midfielders in the world. I was simply surprised by that. So
you are not. There is nothing that you just said that we disagreed about. The disagreement was about the semantics of you calling them a sleeper. Belgium is not a sleeper.
Well, where I would disagree with you is I think when you look at the amount of so I'll ask you this first. How many teams need to be ranked, or I shouldn't say teams, how many countries need to be ranked above you in order to be considered a sleeper? Would you consider any team outside the top 5 to be considered a sleeper?
No.
I'd say outside of the top 10.
Okay, well then they would not be a sleeper.
You can't like simultaneously tout
I would say maybe not
number
a favorite
2 in the FIFA rankings and then also call them a sleeper.
Yeah, I think a sleeper has to be outside like the top 10.
Okay, so they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're 9th. Okay.
I mean, you're not far off. You could say they're not a favorite. They're not I would say favorite would be top 5.
Yeah, they're not a sleeper.
I don't know. My soccer knowledge is very poor, so.
Your soccer knowledge are very poor.
Yeah. I didn't even get that reference, but I will be watching tomorrow. My cousin's cousin dates Tyler Adams on Team USA. So.
Oh, the captain!
Hell yeah,
yes.
The captain! Look at that!
Yes.
All
so
right.
she is there.
Wait, what is up with the what? What is up with the Morris extended family and the athletes? You guys pick them well.
I know. Well, so it's my cousin and cousin on the other side.
Okay.
But we grew up together. She was on my track team. So they met.
Nice.
She went to Temple, actually. I think they met in Philly.
Zach. Zach is now all of a sudden Zach's interested.
Yeah, they've been together for for
5
or 6 years. Yeah, or no, maybe not 5. how old is he? 20. She's
This
young.
is huge for the Birds with
Yeah.
Friends. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
great.
so she's been all over the world with him. She's been to like all these crazy countries. It's
All
so
around
cool.
the world.
Like her Instagram is really awesome. So big
This is fantastic.
yeah. So
So
really rooting for Tyler Adams. That's for sure.
the cousin in the middle,
Yes.
would you say that she's a bigger Browns fan or a U.S. national team fan? Which
A
cousin
bigger-
does she like better?
Bigger Browns fan.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Tomorrow she might not be, but
All right. Tyler Adams, part of the extended BWF universe. This
yes.
is
Yes.
this is
yes.
great.
We got the
Yeah.
captain. I like that.
Yes.
Captain. All right. I
Yes.
love that.
Her name is
Fantastic.
Sarah. So big
Shout out
Sarah fan,
Sarah.
too. Yeah.
Is she an Eagles fan?
I don't know. I mean, she grew up in the same
Okay.
town as me, but she did go to
Okay.
Temple, so maybe some of that Philly
All
rubbed
right.
up on her. But yeah,
Fantastic.
Bo, before we go on, do you want to fill our audience in on what to expect tomorrow in the USA Wales game?
I don't think they need that.
Okay.
I'm worried about our set piece defending.
Okay.
Okay. What do you, I mean, I'm sure if they really want this information, they can
Yes.
look it up elsewhere. I've enjoyed the the Athletic Soccer Show USA Soccer preview series. It's been good.
I think all our coverage has been outstanding. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you would say that even if it wasn't.
No, I've learned so much about all these teams from our coverage.
All right. So I have one or two, depending on what happens tomorrow. Marissa, Linval Joseph has at least half a sack or a tackle for a loss. Bingo, bango, bongo. Nice job by you, and only for 2 turkeys. What a
Yeah.
pull. The Indianapolis Colts score more points than that day's low temperature in Indianapolis, as it appears on Bo's weather app at kickoff. I did not look at my weather app at kickoff. However, we have a meteorologist sicko who texted, who reached out and said, I believe that it was 16. Is that what he said?
well, I did screenshot my phone this afternoon at 3:56 when I was checking. I know it was a little after, it wasn't kickoff.
356. I don't know.
And it said the low was 14. Showing proof right here, Indianapolis on the weather app.
Yep.
So
Wow, this is debatable here. Let me
Just
see if I can
saying.
find the sicko. You know, I've got so
I
many
mean,
mentions. How can I possibly?
we specifically said the weather app, not weather.com too.
Yep.
Because weather.com did
I
not
thi-
have it at
I think Marissa's I think Marissa's evidence is good, is sufficient.
Well, I don't.
Well, honestly, I don't think any of this is gonna matter when we get to Zach's, but
All right. Well, let's say that. Jeez, I'm sorry. That's just not a pleasant listening experience for anybody. Let's say that is still disputed and continue on. Zach, why don't you take over?
Okay. So then the next one is Matt Ryan throws for more touchdowns than the number of defensive linemen signed by the Eagles this week. The Eagles signed 2 defensive linemen this week, and Matt Ryan threw for 0 touchdowns. So Marissa does not hit that one.
No.
Jonathan Taylor doubles Miles Sanders in rushing yards. Miles Sanders had 47 rushing yards. Jonathan Taylor had 84 rushing
this was
yards.
so close.
It
Oh,
was very
tough.
close. Yes. And then the Eagles have 0 turnovers, and the Eagles, as AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts both fumbled the ball. So the Eagles did not have 0 turnovers. So then Marissa gets the Linval Joseph one, and
The weather.
we will give her the Colts one as well.
1 or 2, and I have 1 or 2.
She has 2. Marissa has 2.
No. We don't. Wait. That is not what.
no,
How,
you
Mrs.
did
Evidence-
not check the
Yeah,
weather
Marissa's
app.
evidence.
yeah, but
is
it says
sufficient.
at kickoff.
Okay,
Yeah, but the low
3
is the
difference.
low is the low. We're not talking about the temperature at kickoff. We're talking about what the low for the
Yeah.
day is.
Yeah,
at
but
kickoff.
it's written at kickoff.
Yeah, but
I
you
think
didn't
the-
check it. It
I'm
said
in a
Bo's
standardized
weather app.
time to check. Marissa gets that one. Okay.
Thanks,
Okay.
Zach. It
So-
doesn't matter because
Don't
now
take
let's
his
get to
charity, Marissa. You earn what you get.
It's not charity. It's being decisive, right? That's what they tell quarterbacks: be right or be wrong, but be
Zach.
decisive.
I mean, I'm the only one that brought evidence, so that's all I'm gonna say. Just
Okay.
saying.
I'm just saying. I want to check the. We have an actual meteorologist, Sicko, who sent us what the low was at the time.
How many mentions do you get that you can't find it?
Well, I'm also trying to do the show.
All right, so I will take over and also help your cough here. Marissa used 27 above 27 turkeys. So I had 40 turkeys. I used 26 of them. My first one, Zach Pascal has more receiving yards than any Eagles tight end. Zach Pascal finished the game with 9 receiving yards, but Jack Stoll finished the game with 7, and Grant Calcaterra and Tyree Jackson did not have a recorded catch. That brings me to my next one. Grant Calcaterra leads the Eagles tight ends in targets. I bid 7 turkeys on this. They were 7 turkeys poorly spent because Grant Calcaterra did not get a target for the Eagles.
Okay, Steve Silver, the unofficial, I guess the official meteorologist of Birds with Friends, unofficial low at Indy International Airport at a kickoff was 13 degrees. Marissa gets it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I hit it.
Yes.
So
Great
you
And
job.
hit
Zach's
it.
going to
We
need
needed
that.
it to be official. Now it's official.
Okay.
Congratulations. You
Marissa
got
got
it.
2 points. Okay.
And
So
Zach
here,
needs that. So continue.
at least as many of Zach's items hit this week as items hit by Bo or Marissa. Okay. So Bo got 1 or 2. Marissa got 2.
No.
Okay.
Items
no,
you
Zach.
submitted.
No, it's the submitted, not the
Oh,
hits.
okay. Okay. Sorry about that.
So Zach, I think you're gonna
yes.
get this one because
Yeah, I
you
think
submit.
so
You obviously get
I
the next
submit.
one. Right.
And I got Pascal. Yes.
too.
Okay.
And he
Yeah.
got the temperature one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna get that.
Okay. So then here we go. So then the last one, Nick Sirianni acknowledges Frank Reich in some way in his post-game press conference. And we added the caveat that it could not be upon prompting from one of us, right? And he did bring it up, and it was not upon prompting. He was asked about why he was so emotional and or something along those lines, and he mentioned Frank Reich. Actually, did we read? It's been a long podcast. We discussed Reich, but I don't think we mentioned I don't think we read the entire quote or part of the quote. So I will.
No,
do
that's
that.
when you said bless you to Marissa.
That's not when I said bless you to Marissa.
Yes, it is. It was
it
leading
is?
up to that.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So then in any event,
Congratulations, Zach.
Yes, Zach. Big win.
thank you. Thank you. Unfortunately, it's only my second win, and
Better than me,
Still
Zach.
still
As
significantly
long as
behind
Bo's
Bo.
not winning, that's good. Keep it going.
All right. Well, we got
And you carry over 14 turkeys. That's
Mhm.
great.
Hashtag underdogs in my underwear.
So this week, I believe we haven't run this by it with each other yet, but I believe we're going to have one episode this week to give our audience something to look forward to. It is Thanksgiving on Thursday, and so we will get you a podcast before Thanksgiving that if you are driving somewhere on Thanksgiving or driving home on Friday, you will have that podcast in your feeds for your Thanksgiving travels. And but before then, we're gonna have Nick Sirianni tomorrow talking about this game, and then it pivots to Green Bay, which going into the season we thought was probably I thought would be the most difficult game on the schedule for the Eagles, and obviously that has not turned out to be the case. So the Packers coming off a loss, the Eagles coming off a win. We will speak to Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen and Michael Clay on Tuesday. Then we will have Sirianni and Hurts and a bunch of other people on Wednesday before we do the pod for the week. So you can look forward to that. Hopefully Bo is feeling a little bit better then. And hopefully I was going to say part of Marissa's family. Marissa's cousin's boyfriend plays well tomorrow.
Cousin's
For
cousin.
U.S. against,
Boyfriend.
yes, cousin's boyfriend plays well against Wales. And the last thing I'll say before I stop rambling here is happy birthday to Rachel Wulf, who is
Big happy birthday.
3 minutes left.
Mm.
Well,
Just
a
in the
loyal
nick of
listener.
time.
Yes, exactly. So I'm getting in happy birthday before the clock turns to the 21st.
There we go. I'd like to give a little bit of a grouse to the city of Indianapolis.
Really?
Yeah, we left Lucas Oil Stadium at, what was that, about 9 o'clock, Zach? and wanted to get a little dinner. And the hotel bar restaurant closed on Sundays. Walked around the corner to a pizza place that you and I went to, I believe, Zach.
Oh yeah, it closed. Cafe Patachou, or
No.
I'm sorry, Napoli's Pizza closed.
No, a different pizza place.
Oh, okay.
That maybe I went there with Sheil.
Probably.
And kitchen closed at 9. Went around the corner. Kitchen closed at 9. Went to a different hotel to see if they had a bar open. Guy's like, no, it's Sunday. It's Sunday. It's Sunday. It's 9:15. It's 9. There wasn't a place to get food at 9:15 on a Sunday in downtown Indianapolis.
My hotel.
I had to settle for this bag of pretzels that was in my presidential suite.
And coffee.
9:15. Oh,
I'm surprised.
I even went into Prime to see if their kitchen was open.
Yes. No,
They said no.
Oh,
No, it's Sunday. Who cares? It's Sunday. It's 9:15. People gotta eat.
I'm surprised the hotel bar wasn't open. That's what I was hoping. I was hoping to finish in time to get to St. Elmo's, and did not. That closes at 9, and so went to the hotel bar.
9 o'clock. The city shuts down. Are you kidding me?
I'm surprised your hotel was not open, but it's a Sunday. Like
Well, who cares? It's a Sunday. It's 9.
I'm sorry. I'm surprised your hotel was closed.
What is
You didn't
that?
try and Uber Eats or DoorDash anything?
No, I mean at that point I had to finish my work. I was just trying to get a little something. 9:15.
I'm gonna vouch for the city of Indianapolis. Okay, from a convenience perspective, it's a desirable place to come in the sense that,
Unless you want food at 9:15 on a Sunday night.
in the sense that it is look, it's an easy flight. Although Bo and I have to connect on the way home because there weren't enough flights for this one. But it's typically an easy flight. It's easy to get from the airport to downtown. Once you're downtown, you don't need a car. You can walk everywhere. And they have the skywalks. If you want to stay indoors, I was able to get from my hotel to Lucas Oil Stadium today.
Soft, man. You're soft.
I went to college in have you seen the snow in central and western New York right now? Yeah. Compared to Wake Forest.
Where's the football guy? Come on.
It was cold there. There was a low of 13 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah. So and so yeah, I like the skywalk system. It is convenient. We discussed this. The older I get, I'm not old, but the more you've gone to some of these places, you appreciate the quick in and out trips where you can get in, it's convenient, you can stay downtown, you can walk, as opposed
again.
As opposed to places that require complicated travel. So I appreciate a Cleveland or an Indianapolis or Detroit. It's a 2-hour flight, hour and a half flight, easy to in, easy out.
Okay. All right. I guess I'll do it. Yeah. Happy birthday, Rachel. And go Marissa's cousin's boyfriend. Let's make it happen. The Eagles moved to 9-1, best record in the league. But it's an ugly one. 17-16 victory, come from behind against the Indianapolis Colts. And we move on. The Packers next Sunday. So, with Thanksgiving week ahead, we thank you for listening. For Zach and Marissa and Alex, but definitely not John, I am Bo. We thank you for listening.
That's not true.
We will talk to you as the week goes on. And as always, we love you.